We live in strange and disturbing times. Much of how we think about politics has been coloured by the past few years and the past few years alone, to the point where pseudo-scientific nonsense can be reported in some of the world's most prestigious media outlets and presented absolutely as fact. It's gotten to such a degree that I find myself asking, do these people know that they're extremists? On the left, we're taught to look up to the radicals of the past, to the civil rights activists, to the women's liberation movement, to the anti-draft, anti-Vietnam students who stood up against the National Guard and in many ways changed the world for the better. But our admiration for them has become so blind that we've forgotten that most of these people were, in a very genuine sense, extremists. We forget about the Black Panthers. We forget the fact that much of the original civil rights movement was made up of secular Marxists. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with having Marxism as your philosophy, but it is quite hardline and it is quite distant from democracy. What they achieved is still amazing. The fact they genuinely did change the world through mostly peaceful means. That's something that we can all learn from. But what we shouldn't be doing is learning from their philosophies and their individual beliefs. It's kind of taken as read that because these previously laudable movements were made up by communists and Marxists and socialists, that today being a communist, a Marxist or a socialist is still totally okay and requires no revision to it. These hardline values have been passed down secondhand to new generations of activists who don't even know where their views have come from. They begin to ascribe collectivist ideas, class-based warfare ideas, to being civil rights ideas, to being social justice ideas instead of being what they are, which is Marxist ideas. I think that the vast majority of today's politically active, regressive left genuinely don't realise just how extreme their views really are. I don't think that they realise where they originally emanated from and what results they had on the wider world. In a very real sense, it seems impossible that they could hold the views that they do unless they didn't know where they came from. They don't have the cautionary tales that go with the collectivist view of the world to warn them off holding these very, very strict, very hard line, very anti-individualist views that the rest of us have. They don't realise that they're out on the fringe. They don't realise that the logical conclusion to what they're suggesting is, for the most part, mass violence. And that's genuinely quite a dangerous thing. Part of the democratic process is supposed to be allowing radical and extremist viewpoints into the marketplace of ideas, if only so that they can get shot down and destroyed by mainstream better ideas, so that people who know how dangerous what these people are suggesting are can destroy them. That's just part of how the marketplace of ideas works. Bad ideas will sink. People will, in essence, not buy them. But we don't have that right now. These views are not being portrayed as being extremist. These views are not being set up to allow others to counter them, to suggest better ideas. Instead, what we have is an ideologically unified press that seems to genuinely not notice how far away from their readers they have become. It's frightening to see that in media across all sectors, the public interest is being interpreted as it is in the public's interest to be lied to as long as it leads to something positive at the end, or something perceived as positive at the end. I don't know how that can not scare anyone. The idea that our public watchdog, the press, the people that we are supposed to trust to tell us the reality of what's going on, even when our leaders will not, that we cannot trust them, that they have an agenda, that they are actively political, and far from merely championing one side or the other, they have an agenda that they are going to push and will be happy to lie to you to achieve. This is almost slipping into Marxism by accident. This is accidentally becoming a state-controlled media run by an ideology and not by ideals. And yet the reporters seem not to know. They seem not to know that the job that they are doing is fundamentally the same as the job being done by those in state-controlled media in China. They seem to be of the opinion that simply because they believe that they are doing a good thing by lying to people, that they actually are. They don't see what they're doing as being extremist. They see what they're doing as being correct. It would almost be comforting to think that there is literally some giant conspiracy out there to defraud the people, to change the way that our governments work, to steal the reins of power, but I don't think there is. I think that there are just a bunch of people who have brainwashed themselves into believing that they know best, that no one else does, and if anyone believes anything different, lie to them until they change their mind. The idea that anyone knows better than an individual how to run that individual's life is a fundamentally extreme idea. It's a Marxist idea, it's a collectivist idea, and it's something that we in the West really should be considering actively wrong. This is something that we should be resisting wherever we find it. It doesn't matter who on the political spectrum is arguing that they know best. We should be saying to them, the fuck you do. And it's the job of journalists to do that. They have a megaphone, they have a huge platform, they have power and influence and an ability to stick two fingers up to the establishment if they want to, but they won't, because they do not realise that they are the problem now. They are not the public watchdog, they are who the public should be afraid of. The worst thing about extremism is that it begets more extremism. It means that there is a mirror image of the regressive left out on the right who is championing extreme ideals, genuinely scary ideas about invading privacy, about immigration, about deporting people who legally live in our countries. And they are being taken seriously because for so long extreme ideas on the left have been taken seriously. Because we gave credence to one set of extremists, the other set of extremists now seems moderate by comparison. Far from the leftist press actually protecting us from these nasty, dangerous ideas that we are clearly too simple-minded to resist by ourselves. What they've done is invite the fascists into our homes. They have created a situation where those on the right can stand up and say, I believe something different to your regressive nonsense, and simply by disagreeing with them, they seem like the right person to endorse, regardless of the rest of their politics. It's something that we see every time that Donald Trump is being discussed. Why is he being successful? It's not because he's a great politician, it's because he is someone who will say something different to the regressives. That is all. That is his only laudable quality. And it is the leftist press, the regressive press, that created that situation. They built a world where that was not only possible, but where their readers started to believe that they would rather be right-wing than swept under the rug with the rest of the regressives. The most dangerous kind of extremists genuinely are the ones who do not know that they are extremists. In the past, people on the far right kept their views to themselves. You would not hear someone in polite company say nigger or kike or spick simply because they knew that that was not acceptable in polite company. That didn't stop them holding the views that they did, but they knew that what they were saying was not in the mainstream. They knew that they were out there. They knew that the vast majority of people were not on their side. By contrast, on the left, we see people wearing hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts that say, violent anarchists for communist revolution. And that's just kind of normal. It's just accepted that this is an okay view to have. Why? Why is it okay for the left to be extremist? Why have we allowed that extremism to fester? Well, it's because the memories of the past still live. The darlings and the radicals on the left in the past have earned such goodwill for the left that no one wants to call it out. Everyone wants to be on the good side. And in doing so, they have turned the laudable left of the past into the evil empire that everyone originally believed that they were supposed to be opposing. I'm the political animal, and I am probably not an extremist, but if I was, I might not know.